Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kent Chandler. I'm chairman of the Kentucky Public Service Commission, and I'll be presiding today. This video will be recorded and is being streamed. The other commissioners, Commissioner Marianne Butler and Vice Chair Amy Cubbage, will review the record in this case later. Today's hearings are for the purpose of hearing evidence in cases where the Investigation Division of the Public Service Commission has issued civil penalty assessments against individuals and business entities alleging violations of the Kentucky Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act. The Public Service Commission has been authorized by KRS 367-4917 sub 6 to enforce and assess civil penalties provided for in the Act and to seek injunctive relief for any violation that results in damage to an underground facility used to transport gas or hazardous liquid subject to the federal pipeline safety laws 49 USC sections 601101 et sequitur. This morning we're here for the purpose of holding a hearing in the following cases. Case number 2021-336, J. Witt Properties, LLC. Case number 2021-271, Joey Casey. Case number 2021-0083, Spriggs Construction. 2021-00084, Spriggs Construction. 2021-00302, Spriggs Construction, LLC. 2021-00266, L&N Utilities, LLC. 2021-00267, L&N Utilities, LLC. 2021-00253, Antonio Lozano. 2021-00257, Maria Rodriguez. 2021-00352, Michael Knopf. And 2021-00355. I will now go back through those and ask if anyone is here on any of those individual cases. The first, 2021-00336, J. Witt Properties, LLC. Is anybody here for J. Witt Properties, LLC?
Mr. Chairman, we have agreed to reset J. Witt Properties.
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
They are scheduled to take the training in November, and they have paid the penalty.
Okay. Ms. Hamilton,
Yes, sir.
can you hear us?
Yes.
And did you hear staff counsel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you intend on attending the training when next month?
Yes.
Yes, it's the first at 9 a.m.
Okay. All right. All right. So you will reschedule this, and we'll see what happens if they take the training then. Okay. All right. Then we will pass over 2021-00336, J. Witt Properties, LLC. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you, sir. Am I free to go?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Next is case number 2021-00271, Joey Casey. Is there anyone here for case 2021-00271?
Yes.
Okay, please
AJ
identify
Witt.
yourself. Sir, is there anyone here on 2021-00271?
Mr. Ray is here on behalf of PRG with Duke Energy.
Okay.
He is going to be a witness today.
Okay.
Excuse me, this is Brian Pokorica on behalf of Duke Energy as well, in-house legal counsel.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Snyder. Is anyone here for the respondent in 2021-00271? Okay. And Mr. Ray is here pursuant to the subpoena, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we will come back to 2021-00271. Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Please, Mr. Ray, stick with us for a minute. 2021-00083. Is there anyone here for case 2021-00083? Spriggs Construction. Is there anyone here for 2021-00084 Spriggs Construction? And how about 2021-00302 Spriggs Construction? Okay. So council, my preference as we go through these, and I know this is not ideal, I'm gonna try to keep them in order, but I would like to recall the ones that we have the people here for first, and then try to keep them still in the order, but call the ones we have the people here for first, and then come back to the ones that there is no one. Next is 2021-266 L&N Utilities LLC. Also 2021-267 L&N Utilities LLC. Is there anyone here for either of those cases? L&N Utilities? Okay. Next is Mr. Lozano, 2021-00253, Antonio Lozano. Mr. Lozano here? Okay. 2021-00257, Maria Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Chairman, we've also agreed to reset Ms. Rodriguez. She has signed up for the November training this morning.
Okay. Is that correct, Mr. Rodriguez, that you've signed up for the training in November?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. With that being the case, we will pass over this today in anticipation that you'll be conducting that training, Ms. Rodriguez. If you need any information on that, please continue to communicate with the Division of Inspections. And with that being the case, you can be excused today.
Okay, thank you.
Case number 2021-00352, Michael Knopf.
Hi, good morning, Commissioner. I'm here.
Okay. And you have availability of camera, is that correct, Mr. Knopf?
Yes, I do.
It's not important right this second, but in a minute it will be. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then finally, 2021-00355, A&R Construction LLC. Is there anyone here on behalf of A&R Construction LLC?
Yes.
Okay. Please identify yourself.
Anthony Anderson, owner.
Sorry, I missed that.
Anthony Anderson, owner of A&R Construction.
Okay.
I didn't understand that at all.
Anthony Anderson with A&R Construction. Okay. So Mr. Anderson, are you with counsel today?
I'm sorry?
Do you have counsel with you present today?
No.
Okay. All right. And you received the order in this case, correct, Mr. Anderson?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Have you received the order in this case, correct? Identifying the alleged violations?
Yes.
Okay. And the portion of the order that states, I think it's order in paragraph 2 that notes that any partnership, corporation, or business entity must be represented by an attorney licensed to practice law in Kentucky. Did you notice that in the order?
No.
Okay. All right. Is this A&R Construction LLC's first violation?
It is.
Okay. Are you aware, Mr. Anderson, of your ability to participate in training as a reduction to the initial violation amount?
Yes, I mean, I'll do any training I need to do.
Well, so, correct me if I'm wrong, counsel, but my understanding is that the ability to participate in the training does reduce the initial violation, is that right?
It does, to 250
To 250 from 1,000,
from 1250.
from 1,250. Did you hear that, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. If given the option to participate in the training on November
November 1st.
1st at 9 a.m.,
Yes.
if you were able to participate in the training on November the 1st at 9 a.m., how long is the training ordinarily?
Hour and 20.
Say an hour and a half, from 9 to 10:30, to reduce your alleged penalty from, if found to have violated it, would be $1,250. If you decide instead to conduct the training, it's a $250 fine plus the training. Would you be interested in taking that option?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have contact information for Mr. Anderson?
I believe we do, sir.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, I'll ask you to do me a favor this morning.
Sure.
If you will right now send an email with contact information for yourself, phone number and email, to the following email address: PSC, as in Public Service Commission, ED, Echo Delta, PSCED at ky.gov. If you will send an email with your contact information, we will get your information today and provide you everything you need to be able to participate in that training on November the 1st.
Okay.
All right.
Can you please repeat that email for me, please, so I can write it down?
PSC ED at ky.gov. Okay. All right. So with that being the case, I'm going to choose to pass over this today. Ms. Canfield Norris, is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Anderson, I recommend you participate in the training. And if the failure to do so will just mean that we call this case again the next time that we have a hearing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Am I free to go?
Yes, yeah, you may. Thank you. All right, counsel. Which case would you like to take up first? 2021-00271 Joey Casey or 2021-00353 Michael Knopf?
Let's begin with Joey Casey.
Okay, great. All right, at this time, we'll call case number 2021-00271 Joey Casey. Mr. Casey is alleged to have violated the Kentucky Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act. The commission has indicated that based on its review of the incident report, that prima facie evidence exists that Mr. Casey violated the act, and in particular, the following provisions of the act. First, KRS 3674911, sub 10, when excavation or demolition is necessary within the appropriate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility. And KRS 3674911 sub 8, the excavator shall contact the Protection Notification Center to request remarking 2 working days in advance of the expiration of each 21-day period while excavation or demolition continues. It's my understanding, council, that service has been successful on Mr. Casey. Is that your understanding?
Yes, they have been served on July 1st, 2021, and that has been filed into the case record.
Okay. All right, and you are ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, please call your first witness.
DOI calls John Goins.
Mr. Goins, please take the stand. All right, Mr. Goins, do you swear or affirm that please raise your right hand, excuse me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, please have a seat. State your name and address for the record.
My name is John E. Goins, and my address is 189 Berry Avenue in Versailles, Kentucky.
All right. Counsel, as the party with the burner first, you may ask.
Where are you currently employed?
I am employed at the Public Service Commission in the Division of Inspections.
And what are your job duties with the Public Service Commission?
I am a consumer complaints investigator, and I am responsible for investigating any time a gas line gets hit to determine if there was a violation of the statute, and if so, the responsible party.
Okay. Are you familiar with an incident of damage to an underground natural gas facility that took place on May 13th, 2020 at 108 Tando Way, Fort Mitchell, Kentucky?
Yes, I am.
Did you investigate that incident?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 32692? Could you please scroll through this document? This appears to be an 11-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation report?
Yes, it does.
Will you describe its contents?
It took narrative from the Duke Energy report submitted to the Public Service Commission regarding the damage that occurred at this address. It contains information on a dig ticket that was called in for this address that was 6 days expired. It contains information that on February 24th of 2021, I spoke with Mr. Casey by telephone and explained the violations to him. At that point, he agreed to the reduced penalty and the damage prevention training. So then he was sent a demand letter with that information in it.
Chairman, this document has previously been filed, and I would move to mark it as DOI Exhibit 1.
We'll mark it as such as, excuse me again, DOI Exhibit 1?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Was the excavator the owner of the property located at 108 Tando Way, Fort Mitchell?
The excavator was identified in the Duke report as a tenant at this address.
And the gas operator reported that Mr. Casey was not the homeowner, or just the tenant?
He was just identified as the tenant at this address.
Was Mr. Casey present when the operator investigated the incident?
That answer I don't know.
Did the operator speak to Mr. Casey?
The information provided by the PRG report, which is the company that does the investigations for Duke, simply says it was determined that Joey Casey will be held liable for this damage. It doesn't indicate any kind of contact.
Do you know who called in the dig ticket?
The dig ticket was called in by Carrie Mapes.
Is that the owner of the property located at 108 Tanda Way?
I did not verify that.
Do you know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of damage?
Yes, it did.
Did you speak to Mr. Casey during your investigation?
Yes, I did.
And what did he state?
Well, I explained to Mr. Casey that the dig ticket was expired and that the use of mechanized equipment within 18 inches of the locate mark were both violations of the statute. And I explained the 3 options that we had to address the violation, and he agreed to the first option, which is the reduced penalty and damage prevention training.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 11 of the investigation report, please? You're already there. What is this document, Mr. Goins?
That is a copy of the dig ticket that Carrie Mapes requested.
Was it valid at the time of excavation?
It was expired by 6 days.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please go to page 5? Is this an invoice for the damage that occurred on May 13th, 2020?
Yes.
And who does the invoice list as the responsible party?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
Who does the invoice list as the responsible party?
Oh, okay. The invoice lists Joey Casey.
Okay. Are you aware if this invoice has been paid?
I am not.
Does your report indicate that the underground facility that was damaged contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes.
Okay. And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
I determined that it was KRS 367.4911 subsection 8, which requires the excavator to notify the Protection Notification Center within 2 days of the expiration. The expiration being a 21-day period. So on day 19, they should notify that they need the area marked again. And I also cited him for KRS 367.4911 subsection 10, which is when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility.
And in conjunction with this incident, was a demand letter issued by the Division of Investigations?
Yes.
And to whom was it issued?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that again.
Whom was it issued? To whom?
To whom? Joey Casey.
What was the result of that?
Nothing.
And why did you cite Mr. Casey and not the homeowner?
Mr. Casey was the person actually doing the excavation.
From the PSC records, do you know if Mr. Casey has any prior violations of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
At the time of this investigation, it was his first violation.
Chairman, I have no further questions for this witness.
Mr. Goins, let me ask you two follow-up questions. The first, you mentioned you were asked, did the pipe have gas at the time? Do you have any recollection or any information to determine whether the gas escaped following damage?
In the gas excavation damage report that came out of our IRS system, there are 2 check boxes. The first one was gas or hazardous liquids contained in the underground facility, and Duke put a check mark there, so it was contained. And the second one is was gas or hazardous liquids released into the atmosphere? And again, that box was checked, so it would indicate both of those occurred.
And that is page 8 of Exhibit 1, is that correct?
My numbers don't.
It's okay.
my-
Is it on the page or pages that discuss gas excavation damage report, Duke Energy Kentucky is at the top?
That's it, yes.
Right. The second question is, I guess it's around whether this is an issue of using a ticket that was expired or not having a ticket at all, right? As it relates to Mr. Casey. Would you agree that based on your experience, it would also be, even if even if there's not an agency relationship there between Mr. Mapes and Mr. Casey, the homeowner and the tenant, with relation to Mr. Mapes' ticket, that if Mr. Casey, forget the expired ticket, Mr. Casey's doing the excavation, it would be a violation anyways because he hadn't himself received a ticket. Is that correct?
We are taking the approach that if a homeowner requests a dig ticket, for example, in order to have a fence installed, it is legal, it's within the legality of the homeowner calling in the dig ticket, provided the fence installer is the only excavator on site, because the statute speaks to if more than one excavator is on site, then each excavator has to have their own dig ticket. So if a homeowner were to call in a dig ticket and only one company excavator was doing some excavation, we would, if the dig ticket was valid, we would consider that to be appropriate with the statute.
Okay. All right, those are all the questions I have. Counselor, do you have any redirect?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goins. Do you have any additional witnesses?
I do, sir. We would call AJ Ray from PRG.
All right, Mr. Ray, please turn on your audio, video, and raise your right hand. You can stay if you'd like. I don't know. Okay. Keep us from going back and forth. Mr. Ray, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My full name is Alexander James Ray III, address 3690 Richmond Street, Walker, Michigan.
All right, counsel, you may ask.
By whom are you employed,
Project Resources Group, or PRG.
and what are your job duties with PRG?
Director of Operations for our outside plant damage power and gas division.
And how are you connected with this incident that took place on May 13th, 2020?
I am the director of the organization. The investigator that conducted this is one of my employees.
Did you personally participate in the investigation?
No, ma'am.
Did you supervise this investigation?
No, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the investigation report that was produced by your company and sent to Duke Energy and then forwarded to the PSC?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with locate ticket number 200-416-1595?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us whether the incident of damage was within the scope of that ticket?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Can you tell us whether the incident of damage was within the scope of that ticket?
If the damage was within the scope of the ticket, was that the question?
Yes.
Within the scope of the ticket, yes.
The underground facility that was damaged, can you tell us if it was marked and located as a response to the locate ticket?
It was accurately marked, and positive response was performed within the required time frame of VAT ticket for the individual that called it. Correct.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please display page 5 of the investigation report? Is this the first page of the report provided by PRG?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is this document?
That is the invoice for the damages that took place.
Has this invoice been paid?
No, ma'am.
So this does accurately reflect that Joey Casey was responsible for the damage that occurred?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Casey admitted to fault on several occasions.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please display page 7 of the investigation report? Could you please tell me what this document is?
This is our narrative.
Okay. Could you please explain your findings?
It was deemed that Mr. Casey did not have a valid locate ticket pursuant with Kentucky statute, stating that each excavator or entity must notify the one call center prior to excavation. Mr. Casey was not listed on the locate ticket and did not have a valid locate ticket pursuant with Kentucky law.
Thank you. Ms. Rhodes, could you scroll down just a little bit? Mr. Ray, can you see this photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you describe this photograph?
This was taken at the damaged site shortly after we were notified from Duke Energy. This is the damaged service line that runs parallel to the driveway at the above-mentioned location.
And the service line, are you referring to this yellow pipe in the photograph?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 8, please? Could you scroll through these photos? Mr. Ray, could you please describe these photos?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Could you please describe these photos and what they reveal about the damage?
Yes, these are additional photographs that the investigator took on location of the damaged site, showing the damaged line that ran from the roadway or the meter. I'm sorry, from the roadway, which would be the curb, all the way up to the meter.
Okay. Chairman, I have no more questions for this witness.
Okay. Is this part of Exhibit 1 that's being shown?
It is.
I have no questions for Mr. Ray. Thank you very much, Mr. Ray.
Thank you, sir.
I know we've marked Exhibit 1. Would you like to move for its introduction, counsel?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. We'll make it part of the record. Counsel, are there any other witnesses that you have in this matter?
No, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Casey's not here today, so there's no testimony or arguments on behalf of the respondent. Does the Division of Inspections have anything they'd like to, final statements they'd like to make on this matter?
Nothing further, Your Honor. DOI will rest.
Okay. All right, we'll submit this case. Thank you. Thank you, counsel. Thank you, Mr. Ray. One down, a dozen to go. Would you like to take Mr. Knopf next?
Yes, please.
Mr. Knopf, you still there?
Hi, I believe I'm on here.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
Yep. And am I mispronouncing your last name?
No, that's correct.
Okay. All right. We'll call next case number 2021-00352, Michael Knopf. Mr. Knopf, as an individual, you are able to represent yourself in this matter. So what we'll do here is the Division of Inspections has the burden of proof in this case to prove that you have violated the Underground Damage Prevention Act. Council will likely call witnesses, provide introduce certain exhibits into the record. I believe those will all be exhibits that you should already have a copy of. And it's likely, as you've noticed today, that the exhibits will also be provided on the screen so that you can view them in real time. If you don't have a copy of those, please let us know and we will send them to you. After counsel is done conducting direct examination of the witness, you'll have an opportunity to conduct some cross-examination and ask questions if you should choose to do so. Do you have a copy, Mr. Knopf, of the opening order in this matter?
Yes, Commissioner, I do. I have the email and attached photos from investigator Mr. Tout with the PSC.
Okay,
I believe that's the
correct.
only thing that I've been.
Okay, and did you also receive the order and notice of hearing in this case?
I did.
That would have been how you had the information to participate in this. And then we also have in the record that was provided, it's already part of the record, so it doesn't need to be introduced, your comments or response of October the 4th, 2021. And then later, if you need to introduce any evidence of your own, you'll have the opportunity to do so.
Okay.
All right, counsel, you may call your first witness.
We call Eric Tout, Division of Inspections.
Mr. Tout, good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Eric Tout, 570 Fawns Lane, Mount Sterling, Kentucky.
Counsel, you may ask.
Where are you currently employed?
Public Service Commission as an investigator. Pretty much what Mr. Goins said a minute ago, look into underground gas damages to determine if a violation occurred and then trying to determine a violating party.
And what are your job duties at the Public Service Commission?
To obtain information regarding gas damages and review that and try and determine whether or not a violation has occurred.
And are you familiar with the incident of damage to an underground natural gas facility that took place on August 4th, 2020 at 2515 Bradley Avenue, Louisville?
Yes,
Okay. Did you investigate this incident?
yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 42955? Give her a moment to go through that. This appears to be a 17-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes, it does.
Will you describe its contents?
It outlines the damage reports received from the gas company, which is Louisville Gas and Electric. It outlines my investigation and also provides attachments which support the investigation.
This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move to make it marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1.
Okay. Mr. Knopf, you do have a copy of this exhibit, is that correct?
Yes, I do, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. And is there any objection to making this part of the record?
There's not.
Okay. All right, we'll identify this as number 1 and make it part of the record.
Thank you. Mr. Tout, could you describe your investigation for us?
The initial report came in as the homeowner damaged a correctly marked 1-inch gas service with a mini track hole replacing a water line. Ended up making contact with Mr. Knopf and he indicated that there was a loop in the gas service which was not marked and marked correctly. Ended up obtaining information from Louisville Gas and Electric photographs which indicate otherwise.
And the LG&E report noted that Mr. Knopf was the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay. Does the report indicate if he was present when they investigated the incident? Or if they spoke to him?
Evidently so, because it states in the Louisville Gas and Electric report, or the damage report submitted to the Public Service Commission, states he and his mother initially said the marks were off, but I showed them a few remaining paint marks that were not destroyed. Those marks were in the line with the exposed gas service.
Do we know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes, it did. Again, on the gas excavation damage report, there's 2 check marks, both indicating that gas was in the facility and that it was released into the atmosphere.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 7 of the investigation report? What is this document, Mr. Tout?
That is the locate ticket for 2515 Bradley Avenue to repair a water service line done for Michael Knopf, and the work is to be done by Michael Knopf.
Was the dig ticket valid at the time of excavation?
Yes, I believe so.
When did it expire?
8/17/2020.
And when was it submitted? I'm sorry.
Okay, it was submitted 7/27/20, and the incident date was 8/4/20.
Can you tell us whether the incident of damage was within the scope of that ticket?
To my knowledge, yes.
The underground facility that was damaged, can you tell us if it was marked and located in response to that locate ticket?
Yes, there is photographs showing that it was marked.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please display page 11 of the investigation report? Mr. Tout, what does this photograph depict?
That photograph depicts the incident location. If you note the tree, it'll show up in another photo, and indicates where the gas line is to supposedly be.
And this is a pre-dig photo?
Yes, it is before excavation. May have been taken the day that the markings were placed. I don't know whether it's specific, it does not have a date on it, but usually that's the way it happens.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to the next photograph in this attachment, page 13? Mr. Tout, could you tell us about this photograph and what it depicts?
This photograph depicts the path of excavation and where the damage occurred. And if you notice in that photograph, the first marked pylon, there is a yellow flag right at the edge of the excavation or the ditch. And then if in the foreground, there's another marked pylon, which has the measuring tool. Of course, you cannot see the measurements on that, but by the way, looking at that where the mark is, the pylon, that's almost the center of the measuring tool, and the measuring tool measures 18 inches either side of that, so would indicate that that ditch definitely was within the 18 inches.
Okay. Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 14 of the investigation report? Mr. Tout, could you tell us what this photograph depicts?
That depicts where the damage occurred. You can see the damage pylon, and the mark pylon.
Mr. Rhodes, could you go to page 15 of this report? Mr. Tout, could you describe this photograph?
Again, that shows the damage and where the mark pylon is. If you notice the number 2, the other photograph that we showed had the number 2 on it. And you can definitely tell that that was within 18 inches of the mark.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please go to page 5 of the investigation report? Mr. Tout, is this an estimate for the cost of the damage that occurred on August 4th, 2020?
Yes,
Does your report indicate that the underground facility that was damaged contained natural gas at the time it was damaged?
yes.
What provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
KRS 367-49-11-10, when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility.
And in conjunction with this incident, was a demand letter issued by the Division of Investigations?
Yes, it was.
And to whom was it issued?
I'm sorry,
To whom was it issued?
Mr. Kanal.
And what was the result?
No response. That's why we're here today.
And from Public Service Commission records, do you know if this is Mr. Nom's first violation, or does he have previous violations?
This would be his first violation.
Chairman, I have no further questions for this witness.
Mr. Knopf, do you have any questions for Mr. Tout?
Commissioner, I do not.
Okay. Mr. Tout, I do have a couple questions. You have those, and can we get Ms. Rhodes to please bring up the video, the photos, and particularly the 2 damaged photos, I believe. There's only 2 damaged photos, correct? One before and then 2 damaged photos,
There's 3 damaged photos.
3 damaged photos?
Yes.
All right. So I have here, let's go first, if you don't mind, Ms. Rhodes, the 2 pages before that. It's the photo before. The page before that, 11. That'd be great. All right, so Mr. Tout, what do we have here?
That is the pre-excavation photo or photographs indicating that the area was marked.
Okay, so we have, if you scroll up just a little bit, Ms. Rhodes. All right, so we have the vehicle, I assume, for the marking company, because nobody other than people involved with utilities puts cones around their cars, right? So that's probably the marking company's vehicle there. Then we've got blue flags in the background. What do blue flags indicate?
Blue flags usually indicate water.
Okay.
So that would be a water line.
And then we have, it looks like, would you agree, yellow flags and yellow paint?
That would indicate gas.
Okay, but you have both flags and paint there, correct?
Correct.
Do either of those options exist under Chapter 367 Underground Damage Prevention Act to mark underground facilities? You can either do, you can do flags, you can do paint, and technically I guess you could do both, right?
Correct.
Okay. So then if we could go 2 pages forward. All right, if we'll scroll down just a little bit. We have here, from what I can tell, it looks like a white marking on the ground. Do you see that, Mr. Tout?
Yes.
Okay. And white, would you agree white under the Underground Damage Prevention Act represents the area in which the excavation is expected to occur?
Correct.
Okay. And then so other than the white, what else do we have?
There's a yellow flag
Okay,
there. And we, in the investigative companies, use white paint to circle around the yellow mark. It might be visible to the eye, but a lot of times when you take a photograph, it's not visible in the photograph, so they will spray paint around that to ensure that, okay, this is where the mark is,
using what color?
white paint.
It seems a bit problematic, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and there's nothing in the statute says you can't or cannot do that. It'd be nice if the statute specifically stated a specific color.
Okay. So, it would appear, and you can't necessarily tell from this photo, but you have the monitor up on the wall there. This does look like, maybe a corner of a home. Does that make sense with the downspout?
Yes.
There and the drain?
Yes,
Okay. And then maybe like a little holly bush beside it?
yes.
Okay. Do you have anything, and if you could, Ms. Rhodes, scroll up just a little bit. You mentioned the tree earlier, and the picture just a bit more. I want to see the entirety of the top of the photo. The photo we have in the exhibit is not as full as this photo. It's only the bottom half of it. But is this the tree that you were discussing earlier?
Yes.
And that's the tree you say that shows up in the same photo as the before?
And
The before picture, the picture with the crossover SUV and the cones around it, is that the same tree? Is that what you were talking about earlier?
yes, if you look in the picture that's up on the, you see at the base of the tree, there's a stick or a vine that wraps around the tree. And if you look at the before photograph, there is a stick and it wires just like that stick does.
Okay.
Which would tell me that this is the same photograph, same area.
Okay. And then I just want to talk about the second mark. We talked about the first mark, which by mark, I assume they're not indicating about the white paint, but they're talking about the yellow flag. Is that your understanding, the first mark we were talking about?
Right.
What about the second mark in the background?
It, according to the before photograph, and it appears that the before photograph is not back far enough. It does not catch the corner of the house as this photograph that's up on the,
Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. The before photograph doesn't get either of these marks, correct?
correct.
Okay. All right. And then the next photo, if we could, the next page. Well, first, I just want to, yeah, that's
Well,
great. So
going
we'll scroll
back,
down there. So we have this is supposed to indicate the damage, correct? And what is the number 2 there? There seems to be something that a piece of yellow something, apparatus that's going from the damage marker to the marker 2. What is that?
That yellow is the gas line.
The yellow is the gas line, okay. And if we scroll down just a little bit, where is mark 2?
As you can see, the white paint, it's within that white paint, would be within that white paint.
Do you see mark 2?
If you look just to the right on the grass, that appears to be a little bit of yellow paint that may be faded.
Okay. Okay. And, and do you know how far the damage from Mark II was? Did the operator provide that information?
No.
Okay.
Now, if you look at that, which is bleached out, the photograph's not really good. That white piece of, looks like it might be a board or whatever is the ruler, which is used.
Okay,
And that ruler is broken down into the 18-inch mark is in the center of that ruler, and it goes 18 inches to both ends. So according to where that pylon is set in the ruler, that is would be the center of the 18 inches, and then the outer edge would be at the end of both ends of that ruler.
okay,
And if you look, the pipe is right almost center of the ruler. It might be a couple of inches to the left of the center of that, or left of the 18 inches.
right, but do we know if the damage occurred within 18 inches of that
Yes,
mark?
by looking at that photo, that tells me that the damage occurred within the 18 inches.
How is that the case if the ruler's going this way and the damage is over here?
If you look at this photograph,
Yep. The first one, the
The
marking
first one.
photograph, okay?
those marks go from the house to the street. That's a straight line.
Well, that's not what the photograph shows though, right? The photograph shows where the person's standing to the street.
Well, yes, and behind that person would be the house.
Right, but we don't know where it goes after the photo, I guess is what I'm asking, correct?
We don't know where.
We don't have documentary evidence of, there's a bottom, I see a yellow line here on the roots, right?
Mhm.
That's the last documentary evidence I have of where it was marked.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you go on up, and there's a second mark.
Towards the road.
Yes,
Toward the road. That's what I'm asking. I'm saying we don't have documentary evidence about what the marks look like outside of this photo. Whether they go left, right, straight towards the house. They didn't provide us any other photos other than this one, is what I'm kind of asking, right?
Correct.
Okay,
That shows the path of the gas line.
okay.
And then, if you look, your first mark, which is that yellow flag, and then your second mark would be approximately where the first, where the first prominent mark right here,
Yep,
that would be approximately where the damage occurred,
okay.
in my mind.
Do you have any of the pictures that show any of the marks and measuring the distance between the apparent remainder marks and the damage site?
In a direct straight line, are you
I
talking?
mean, the actual measurement. I mean, with electric, for instance, when they have an issue with the height of power lines, right? They have to be, I think it's like 14 feet from the NESC. They'll take a picture with an actual fiberglass pole beside it that measures 14 feet to show whether or not the measurement at that exact spot is adequate. I'm just asking, had they provided any information or any pictures that would show that they actually measured the distance between the damage site and then that last mark? I see the measurement left and right. I'm just asking if they provided any photos
Showing
front and
that, no, these are all the photos I've received.
Okay. All right. And then, did they indicate that they had measured the actual distance? Did they put in like the damage report that it was 19 inches or 21 inches or 16 inches?
They reported, let's see exactly what they said.
Because I have in your investigation on the third paragraph, via email, the operator, LG&E's Mike Jones, stated that the markings around the tree were just, quote, well within the approximate location / tolerance zone of 18 inches.
Yes.
But I'm just asking if they indicated what the actual distance was.
No, but by looking at that ruler from the photographs that they provided, tells me that the damage occurred 2 or 3 inches left of the center mark of 18 inches. So it occurred within the tolerance zone due to that photograph,
Okay.
due to where the marked pylon is and where that ruler is, which does not give you a good photograph of the ruler because
It doesn't seem to do the job it was intended to,
right,
does it?
because of the lighting or the way they took that.
Okay. All right, those are all the questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Stout. Counsel, do you have any redirect for the witness?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Knopf, I assume you don't want to sort of testify on your own behalf, but maybe I want to give you the opportunity. Do you have any evidence that you would like to provide in this matter?
I do want to ask if the commission has received my photograph I submitted last night. I apologize, it was untimely. But I do have like a picture that may, like the way that it,
Does Ms. Rhodes have a copy of that photograph?
it's not greatly important if,
No, that's fine. We'll get it to Ms. Rhodes, and hopefully she can bring it up on the screen. We do have a copy of the court reporter has.
I do have a copy of that, Chairman.
Okay, great. If you could pull that up, that'd be awesome, when you can. And the court reporter has a copy of it, so if you'd like to move it as evidence, we have the ability to receive it, assuming counsel doesn't have objection.
No objection.
yes, I would like to introduce that.
Okay, we'll bring it up. All right, Mr. Knopf.
So well, first I'd like to thank the commission for their time. Thank you again. I apologize. It's at this point, I'm just a residential homeowner. I've never been into excavation. I'm kind of a recent homeowner. This was during the kind of the height of COVID when plumbers and people that could do work like this were booked out weeks, and I just couldn't go weeks without replacing a water line. So I just decided to do it myself, and I did everything I thought I could do with calling the 811 call before you dig. Thought I did my due diligence prior to starting this project, and I'd just like to talk a little bit more about the markings and the way I dug around the gas line. But I also want to notice this is not like an egregious error on my part. I didn't go into this project knowing that I would hit a gas line. I'm not a commercial contractor. This is not a thing I typically do. And I think my main contention here is just the approximate location. I find difficult to prove, the PSC to prove, the investigation to prove. And also the fact that I try to do my best to go around the utility line. But let me see if I can get the pictures. I apologize if I can.
So do you see the picture on the screen now?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So this is a recent photo in the past few months, or I guess probably about 6 months ago actually, after it was covered. I don't know if I can give you a little bit better view. I know you mentioned that it was the corner of the house. I don't know if that provides any better visual.
And the line that's added, is that?
That's a line on that's a poor Photoshop job, but it's kind of a line. You can kind of tell the approximate gas line of what I believe the markings were. I see in the first, I don't have on the attachment I have from Mr. Tout, I do not have page numbers.
Okay.
But the first picture I see with the white SUV vehicle and the yellow flags and waterline marking. I don't know if we can pull that up.
I believe that's, yeah, page 11.
So this is the majority of what was marked. Of course, I did call before I dug. And I guess the operator, I mean, I'm not disputing that they didn't come out and mark, of course, but I don't think it was really marked as well as it should have been. And I don't have a picture from that day or prior to when I dug, but I never saw any markings behind this image. Like if you're looking at this directly towards the vehicle, if you would step back 5 or 10 feet towards the home, I never had any indication on those yellow markers. I think there were probably 4 or 5 flags. And the flag that is in the picture with the mini excavator with the flag with the white marking, I apologize again, on page numbers.
Page 13.
Page 13, I would assume. I'm not sure if, I'm not contending that I removed the flags, or someone removed the flags and put them there, but I don't recall a flag being there. And I think it was either marked by my mom or myself, kind of showing like where, this was after I was digging and the investigators were out. But I do not believe that marking was there. If that makes any sense.
And the only question I have is that yellow circle there, is that your marking? That white, or yellow, excuse me. The white circle, was that a marking you did prior to construction?
No, that was the investigators. That was LG&E's investigator.
Okay.
They came out and marked.
Okay.
It was kind of a.
And would you like to introduce your photo as evidence?
Yes, I would.
Okay, and there's no objection, counsel?
No objection.
Okay, we'll mark it as Mr. Knopp's number 1. All right, Mr. Knopp, and do you have any other evidence you'd like to provide?
Additionally, the marking ruler, I see that it is off, and I guess that's on page 11 or 13. Additionally, that's my main contention, that I think this
So
revolves around the approximate location. I
Mr. Knopp,
understand that the law
hold on
this year.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Knopp. Well, so this time, if we'll give you an opportunity here in a minute to provide your arguments
Sure.
and comments for consideration. But I want to get past sort of the evidentiary stage. Do you have any other evidence you'd like to provide?
That is all.
Okay, all right. Since the Division of Inspections has the burden of proof, I'm going to let them speak first if they have, what their position and recommendations are, and then
Sure.
come to you. You'll have up to 5 minutes to provide any other, comments for consideration, for the commission's consideration, Mr. Knott. Counsel, do you have any final statements or a recommendation in this matter that the commission can take under advisement?
The Division of Inspections would still be amenable to the original offer of a $100 penalty and for Mr. Knopf to attend the training course.
And just a reminder, the training course is being held on the 1st at 9 till 10:30, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
that's okay. It is clear that the issue he is disputing is that he doesn't feel that the area was marked well. Under KRS 367-4911, Section 8, he still has the obligation to notify the 811 center if he feels that the area needs to be remarked. So we would still just ask that he take the training course so that he is aware of the procedure in the future.
And is that all from the Division of Inspections?
It is.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Knopf, I'll give you up to 5 minutes. Anything you'd like to say, provide your argument or comments, closing statements in regard to this matter?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. I'd like to make it brief. I think of course, I think the marking, in the burden on the PSC, I think to prove that it was within the 18 inches, I wouldn't like to dispute that, but I really believe that I did my best to go around that marking. And I think the ruler just shows that it's a little off. And I think that kind of inches mattered in this situation. And I try to get as close as possible with hand tools. And I went around that tree. And I just think that I was within my tolerance of the 18 inches on either side. And I think in some of the pictures, it appears that it looks like it was dug with a motorized, excavator. But some of these pictures were taken well after the fact, and the LG&E was also using like the excavator as well before these pictures were taken to kind of clear out the area around the gas line. So it doesn't really accurately depict like how it was, when the incident occurred. I think that the ruler in the situation is off, of course, and I think that that's just off just enough to help my side. And that's really all the contention I have on my end.
Okay. And counsel, I just asked, is the recommendation if found to have violated it, are you all still recommending a $100 fine or a $250 fine?
A $100 fine because he is a homeowner.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Knott?
I would like to add, I'm happy to go to a class, but I don't think a fine is inadequate. I'm happy to take a class, but I think the fine is a little unnecessary.
Okay. All right, I appreciate Mr. Knopf. I don't think I have anything else. We've already made both of the exhibits part of the record. Would you like to file any further comments, or would you like to submit the case on the record that we have, Mr. Knopf?
Submitting it as it is fine.
Okay. Counsel?
Yeah, arrests.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Knopf. We'll take this case under consideration and issue an order as soon as we can. I don't know when that will exactly be, but we will issue an order on this, and I think just be looking at the, we have your service information. So we will serve it on you the same way we've served the previous orders in this case.
Is that within a month or so, or what sort of time frame would that be?
I think a month would be, given our caseload, I think a month would be a little optimistic.
Okay.
I think probably early next year will be most likely.
Okay. Thank you again, Commissioner.
Thank you. You may be excused.
Thanks.
Candace, before we get started in earnest with the remainder of the cases, would you like to take a short recess? Okay. All right. We will take a recess until 10:30. I'm not going anywhere. We're back on the record. Mr. Knopp still here? We don't have Ms. Rhodes, though. Mr. Knopp's here, but not Ms. Rhodes.
I'm here, Chairman.
Okay, great. So we're back on the record. This is our series of 811 cases, October 29th, 2021. We have, as I understand it, council, 6 cases left. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. We have 3 for Spriggs Construction, 2021-00083, 2021-00084, 2021-00302. We have L&N Utilities, 2021-00266, 2021-00267, and then finally, Mr. Antonio Lozano, 2021-00253. What is the next case that you'd like to call, council?
2021-83 construction.
Okay. 2021-83. All right, Spriggs Construction is alleged to have violated the Underground Damage Prevention Act, and specifically, the commission has found prima facie evidence exists that Spriggs Construction violated KRS 367-4911 sub 8, which states the excavator shall contact the Protection Notification Center to request remarking 2 working days in advance of the expiration of each 21-day period while excavation or demolition continues, or if the markings of any underground facility have been removed or no longer visible. There is nobody here from our earlier request from Spriggs Construction. Is the Division of Inspections prepared to proceed?
Yeah.
All right. As the party with the burden of proof, you may call your first witness.
DOI call John Goins.
All right, Mr. Goins, please raise your right hand. Oh, actually, we've already sworn you in on the same exact record, so please take the stand, and I'll just remind you that you're still under oath. Counsel, you may ask.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is John E. Goins.
And where are you currently employed?
I am employed with the Public Service Commission in the Division of Inspections.
Are you familiar with an incident of damage to an underground natural gas facility that took place on May 21st, 2019 at 10424 Highway 44 Louisville?
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 31674? This appears to be an 18-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes.
Can you describe your investigation?
Yes, I reviewed a report that was submitted by Louisville Gas and Electric. They indicated that there was a valid dig ticket for this excavation project. However, the marks were not visible where the damage occurred. In many instances, construction activities obliterate the locate marks. The request was accurately marked and validated in post-marking photography, but as required in the statute, the excavator did not maintain the markings. And so I made numerous attempts that I can go through if you like to contact the company and discuss what happened.
My apologies. This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI number 21.
And that's the opening order that includes Mr. Goins' investigation report? All right, so ordered.
Who was the gas operator that made this initial report?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Who was the gas operator that made the initial report?
Louisville Gas and Electric Company.
Okay. Did they indicate that they had spoken with the excavator?
They indicated that on May 24th of 2019, they conducted a safety tailgate with the excavator. So that was 3 days after the incident.
Did the excavator hold a valid dig ticket for the excavation?
The dig ticket was valid, yes.
What was the expiration date?
Expiration date was May 23rd of 2019.
And what was the incident date?
May 21st of 2019.
Was the damage within the scope of the ticket?
Yes, it was.
Were you able to verify if the underground facility that was damaged was marked and located in response to the ticket?
Yes, LG&E provided post-locate, pre-excavation photographs.
Ms. Rhodes, could you display page 8 of the investigation report? Is this one of the photographs you were speaking about?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe this photograph?
The photograph shows yellow paint marks on the ground and a very close-up of a sign that they use as a reference point in the next picture.
Ms. Rhodes, could you display page 9? Could you describe this picture for us?
Yes, this is the same location taken at a different angle that shows the paint marks on the ground and the aforementioned sign.
Are there also flags in this photograph indicating the gas line?
Yes, there is a flag between the sidewalk and the street.
And at the corner of the sign, is that also a flag?
Yes, it does appear to be.
Ms. Rose, could you display page 10 of the investigation report? Mr. Gallagher, could you explain this photograph for us and what relates to the image?
Yes, this photograph was provided by Louisville Gas and Electric Company. It shows the approximate location of the damage. It shows yellow flags, which were part of the locate process, and it also shows the sign that I mentioned in the earlier photographs.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 11 of the incident report? Mr. Goins, could you explain this photo and how it relates to the damage?
Yes, the T-shaped piece of equipment is what LG&E uses to begin the repair on the damage. So that is the approximate, that's the location of the damage. And then you can see the yellow flag and the sign in relationship.
And you stated that you did attempt to contact the excavator, but you never were able to reach them during your investigation?
I spoke with two individuals from the company several times. You want me to go through that?
Yes, please.
Did you say yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, on December 27th of 2019, I called the business number and the number that was provided on the dig ticket and left a voicemail at each one. Then on January 9th, I called one of the numbers again and left a voicemail. And then I called another number that was in the dig ticket, and I spoke to Mr. Jim Spriggs. He said they were off the week of Christmas and they were catching up on return calls, and he was certain someone would get back with me. Then on January 16th, I called Mr. Spriggs again, and he indicated their building lost most of the roof in recent storms, and he gave me a number for a Ms. Wendy Gentry. I called Ms. Gentry, it went to her voicemail, but the mailbox was full and couldn't take any messages. So then I immediately called Mr. Spriggs back and explained the problem. And he said he would text her and ask her to call me. That was on January 16th. On January 27th, I called Ms. Gentry again and left a voicemail. On February 7th, this is all 2020, I called Ms. Gentry, spoke with her, explained the investigation of 2 incidents, because by this time, a second incident had come up with Spriggs. So she asked that I email her the information so she could research it. She gave me her email address. 10 days later, on February 17th, I called her. She indicated she hadn't been able to research yet and would try to get it looked at that day. On February 28th, I called her again. She was still in the process of gathering pictures or other documentation. On March 9th, I sent her a reminder email and heard nothing, no response, no call, no email. So on March 16th, I sent her an email indicating there would be 2 demand letters coming, one for this incident and one for the other one that had come up.
Does your report indicate that the underground facility that was damaged contained natural gas at the time it was damaged?
Yes, it does.
What provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
KRS 367.4911 subpart 8A, which required them to contact the Protection Notification Center to request remarking, either on day 19, which this was, of the original dig ticket, or if the markings have been removed or are no longer visible, which is what was explained in the LG&E report.
And in conjunction with this incident, was a demand letter issued by the Division of Investigation?
Yes.
Who did you issue that letter to?
Jim Spriggs with Spriggs Construction LLC.
What was the result of the demand letter?
No response.
From Public Service Commission records, do you know if the excavator had any prior violations to this damage?
This particular incident was their first.
Since that time, they have had additional violations, correct?
Yes.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Mr. Goins, just to be clear, for my understanding, is it your understanding from your investigation that the flags that are present in the post-damage pictures are the flags that were placed at the time of the initial marking on the May 2nd, 2019?
That was my assumption, yes.
And just because I think we need to do this from here on out, the white markings in the post-damage photos are not present in the May 2nd pictures, correct?
That is correct. The company, LG&E, used the white paint to make it easier to identify the original yellow locate mark.
Okay. And mechanized equipment was used for this damage that you're understanding?
It is?
And what is it, directional boring? Is that the mechanized equipment that caused the damage?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
what you took from your investigation?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Campbell, do you have any redirect? Sorry.
No,
Ms.
sir.
Campbell, counsel? None? Okay. Do you have any additional witnesses?
No, sir.
Any additional evidence?
No, sir.
Okay. And would you like to make any closing statements before you submit this case?
No, sir, we submit.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Goins. I will next call, just keeping in the spirit of everything, case number 2021-000084, Spriggs Construction. Is the Division of Inspections prepared to move forward on this case?
We are.
Okay. And as the party with the burden of proof, I'll allow the Division of Inspections, this case was called earlier, nobody appeared on its behalf. As the party with the burden of proof, the Division of Inspections may call its first witness.
DOI calls John Goins.
Okay. Mr. Goins, please just remind you that you're still under oath, and counsel, you may proceed.
Mr. Goins, are you familiar with?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Before you proceed, that's my apologies. Completely forgot. The allegations in case number 2021-00084, the allegations by the Division of Inspections and being reviewed by the Public Service Commission, the commission found in its opening order that prima facie evidence existed that Spriggs Construction violated the Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act, and specifically KRS 367-4911 sub 10, which states when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility. My apologies, counsel, you may proceed.
Mr. Goins, are you familiar with the incident of damage to the underground natural gas facility that took place on May 30th, 2019 at 1200 Hull Street, Louisville?
Yes.
Did you investigate this incident?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 31694? This appears to be an 11-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes, it does.
Okay. This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1.
So ordered DOI Exhibit 1.
Mr. Goins, could you please describe your investigation to us?
Yes, I reviewed a report submitted to the Public Service Commission by Louisville Gas and Electric Company that indicated the excavator was digging with a track hoe and damaged a 2-inch plastic gas main. They were digging within the 18-inch tolerance zone with mechanized equipment. The statute requires them to use non-mechanized or non-intrusive equipment when they're within the tolerance zone.
Does the report from the operator indicate that the excavator was present when they did their investigation of this incident?
I don't see anything that indicates that. The report from LG&E states that they scheduled a safety tailgate with the contractor, but that doesn't say whether it was with a person on site or if it was by telephone to the main office.
Okay. Did you speak to the excavator during your investigation?
Yes, I did.
And what did they state?
I'm sorry?
What did they state about the incident?
I spoke numerous times with both Jim Spriggs, the owner, and his secretary or assistant, Ms. Gentry, requesting feedback and any additional information that they might have for this incident, and did not receive a response, and ultimately wound up sending a demand letter.
On the dig ticket, did it indicate that the operator had spoken to the excavator?
I don't see anything on the dig ticket that would indicate the operator had spoken with the excavator.
Okay, Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 9 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, what is this document?
This is a copy of the dig ticket.
Okay, and was the dig ticket valid at the time of the incident?
Yes.
Was it determined that the excavator was using mechanized equipment within the tolerance zone?
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 5 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, could you tell me what this document is?
This is a copy of the original report that Louisville Gas and Electric submitted to our IRS system.
And is that an estimation of the cost of the damage?
Yes, it is.
Were you able to determine if the cost of the damage has been paid to the operator?
I have not.
Does your report indicate that the underground facility that was damaged contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
It seemed to indicate that because LG&E reported that there were 4 customers out.
And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
KRS 367.4911, subpart 10, which requires hand digging or non-intrusive means when in the approximate location of the underground facility.
And in conjunction with this incident, was a demand letter issued by the Division of Investigations?
Yes,
And where was that sent?
that was sent to the main office in Tennessee to Jim Spriggs.
And what was the result?
There was no response.
And from the Public Service Commission records, do you know if the excavator had a prior violation of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
At the time of this investigation, the records indicated this was their second violation.
Did they pay a penalty?
They have not.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Mr. Goins, I just want to make sure I'm clear. This is incident 31694, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the allegation is that the contractor had a properly marked, the issue, there was no contention of an improper marking, but that the contractor, the excavator, still damaged an underground facility by use of mechanized equipment.
Yes,
Okay.
it was properly marked.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goins. Counsel, do you have anything on this case?
Nothing
Anything
further. Resubmit.
So I have one request for a short brief on this matter from the Division of Inspections.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is I'm unaware of a previous instance of this happening, and it's gonna be apparent when we get to 2021-00302. And it's about let me say it this way. It's, I have a concern that it's like committing a crime. You didn't actually commit a crime, not cursory understanding of law, criminal law. You didn't commit a crime until you're actually found to have been guilty of committing a crime, right? You may have taken some action that may be criminal, but technically haven't committed it until, right? My question is, would the Division of Inspections be interested in briefing this issue of whether or not, because the commission has never found Spriggs having violated the Underground Damage Prevention Act before, whether or not subsequent damages that may be attributed to Spriggs are technically second violations of the act, since they haven't been initially found to have violated the act before today. Would you be interested in providing the commission something on that front?
I can.
Because I don't know, having reviewed a couple of these cases, the case records before, and looking at the law, I don't think that it necessarily speaks to that, or very clearly speaks to it. I guess I'll tell you, I'll give you all the time in the world to submit that. What about on or before January 15th?
Okay.
Okay. All right, is there anything else on this case, counsel?
No.
Okay, thank you. And if you need additional time, just request as much. Next case we'll call is case number 2021-00302. It's also Spriggs Construction. Spriggs Construction by commission order of by commission order July 21st, 2021. This case was opened based off of the Division of Inspections incident report. The commission found prima facie evidence that Spriggs Construction violated the Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act, specifically KRS 3674911 sub 10, which states when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility. When this case was called this morning, there was no one here on behalf of Spriggs Construction. Is the Division of Inspections prepared to move forward?
We are.
Great. As the party with the burden of proof, I will at this time ask counsel to call their first witness.
DOI calls John Goins.
Okay. Mr. Goins, you are still under oath, and counsel you may ask.
Mr. Goins, are you familiar with an incident of damage to the underground natural gas facility that took place on November 21st, 2019 at 500 Happy Valley Road, Glasgow, Kentucky?
Yes, I am.
Did you investigate this incident?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 32271? Thank you. Okay. This appears to be a 9-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes.
This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1 in this case.
So ordered.
Mr. Goins, could you please describe your investigation for us?
Yes, this report came into the commission from Atmos Energy, and it detailed that Spriggs Construction was using a directional boring machine and bored into a 1 1/4 inch steel service. Spriggs had 2 previous locate tickets, but they were both expired. The expected performance when an excavator is boring is that they will hand expose the line where the locate lines are in a large enough opening so that when their bore head comes through the side of the pothole, is what we call it, they can determine whether or not they're going to strike the gas line, and they can adjust the depth of their bore head. And in this particular instance, they did not pothole and expose the gas line to where they could tell they weren't going to hit it.
Okay. And do we know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes, it did.
Did you make contact with the excavator during your investigation?
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 5 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, what is this document?
This is a dig ticket that was issued to Spriggs Construction.
Was this ticket valid at the time of the incident?
It was expired.
When was it submitted?
It was requested on October 29th of 2019.
When did it expire?
21 days later, which would have been November 19th.
So how many days was it expired?
3.
3. Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 6 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, could you tell us about this document?
This is also a dig ticket.
Okay. Was this dig ticket valid on the date of the incident?
This dig ticket was requested also on October 29th, so it would have expired on November 19th.
So both tickets were expired at the time of the damage.
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please go to page 4 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, what is this document?
This document is a copy of the original report that was submitted to our IRS system by Atmos Energy.
Okay. And does it include an estimate for the cost of the damage?
Yes, it does.
Are you aware if this has been paid?
I do not know if it has been paid. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I do. I have an email from Atmos Energy that indicates they sent it to their collection department and nothing was ever collected, so it was written off.
And is that email included in your report?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what page that's on?
It's further back in the,
I believe it's page 7.
it's
Ms. Rhodes.
after the second dig ticket. Again, I don't have page numbers, so.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 7 of the investigation report? Is this the email you're referencing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
It was KRS 367.4911 subsection 10, which requires hand digging or non-intrusive means when in the tolerant zone.
So Spriggs was digging within the tolerance zone with mechanized equipment, correct?
That is correct.
But is it also accurate that they failed to renew their dig ticket as required by KRS?
Yes, it is, yes.
And in conjunction with this incident, was it a ban letter issued by the Division of Investigations?
Yes.
And to whom was that sent?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
And to who was that sent?
Jim Spriggs with Spriggs Construction.
And what was the result?
I believe there was no response to the demand letter.
And from the Public Service Commission records, what number violation is this of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
This would have been the company's third.
Okay. And did they receive a penalty?
The demand letter contained a $4,000 civil penalty.
Okay, and have they paid that penalty?
They did not.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Okay. I have no question. Oh, I do. Does the incident report indicate, no, not the incident report, the damage report indicate whether there was gas in the line?
I believe it does. This, sometimes the operators don't check the boxes that we have put into the system, but it indicates that there was one customer out. So I made the assumption that there was gas in the line, and
Okay.
when it was hit, that customer didn't get their gas any longer.
Okay, and then, but we don't have any, evidence that there was anything released in the atmosphere though, correct?
Right.
All right. Do you have any redirect?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have anything else in this case?
No, DOR I would submit.
Okay. I have another request
Okay.
that you, given, I don't think there will be any reason not to, but given the additional complexity of this being alleged to have been their third violation, but them not having been found guilty of a previous violation, if you want to style that brief in both of these matters, I think probably the single brief would be, there's no point in duplicating work. And so I'll enter an order soon that indicates what the commission's request will be on these.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next case is case number 2021-00266, L&N Utilities. When calling the cases earlier, L&N Utilities did not have anyone present today. L&N Utilities is alleged pursuant to or under the incident report filed by the Division of Inspections, and is alleged to have violated the Underground Damage Prevention Act, and the commission found pursuant to the incident report, prima facie evidence exists that L&N violated the Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act, specifically KRS 367-4911 sub 10, which states, when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility. There's no one here from L&N. Is the Division of Inspections prepared to move forward?
We are.
Okay. As the party with the burden of proof, you may call your first witness.
DOI calls John Goins.
Okay. Mr. Goins, just remind you you're still under oath, and counsel you may ask.
Mr. Goins, are you familiar with an incident of damage to the underground natural gas facility that took place on January 7th, 2020 at 1164 Colorado Road, Lexington, Kentucky?
Yes, I am.
Did you investigate this incident?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 32412? This appears to be a 16-page document. Mr. Goins, does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation report?
Yes, it does.
This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1.
So ordered.
Mr. Goins, could you please describe your investigation for us?
Yes, this report was submitted to our database reporting system by Columbia Gas, and they indicated that the excavator had a valid dig ticket, provided the number and dates. They reported that the excavator was boring with mechanized equipment, and they were within the tolerance zone of a properly marked main line, and hit and severed the half-inch natural gas service line.
Who reported the damage? According to the operator's report, who reported the damage?
They were called out to a damage at a different location, and during their investigation, they discovered this damage.
Okay, so L&N did not call the damage in themselves?
Can I ask a clarifying question? You use the pronoun they, you're referring to the operator?
I am, yes.
Okay. Please continue, counsel.
So the operator was called out to another location, and so the damage was not reported by L&N?
Correct.
How many lines were reported to be damaged?
The records indicate it was a plastic half-inch natural gas service line, so I would assume one.
Okay. Was there anything in your report that indicated that an additional line may have been damaged since another location was involved?
Yes, I received an email from Columbia that they were called out to a damage at 1168 Colorado Road in Lexington. This location is 1164.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 5 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, could you tell me what this document is?
This document is the dig ticket that was valid for the company, the excavation.
Okay. On this dig ticket, did it indicate that the operator called in the dig ticket?
No. I think if we go down on the document, it should indicate that it was L&N Utilities.
Okay. And it was determined that the excavator was digging with mechanized equipment within the tolerance zone?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes.
Did you speak with the excavator during your investigation?
I did. I spoke with Mr. Shane Melton on October 14th of 2020, and he acknowledged his employees were responsible and agreed to the reduced penalty and remedial training.
And did Mr. Melton attend the training or pay the penalty?
He did neither.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please go to page 4 of the investigation report? Mr. Goins, what is this document?
This is a copy of the original report submitted to our IRS system by Columbia Gas.
And does this include an estimate by the operator of the cost for the damage?
Yes, it does.
Do you know if the excavator has paid the operator for the damage?
I do not have that information.
Does your report indicate that the underground facility that was damaged contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes.
And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
KRS 367.4911, subsection 10.
And in conjunction with the incident, was a demand letter issued by the Division of Investigations?
Yes.
Where was that demand letter sent?
It was sent to L&N Utilities, and they are located in Holton, Indiana.
Okay. And from the Public Service Commission records, do you know if the excavator has had any prior violations of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
At the time of this investigation, it would be our records indicated it was their first violation.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Mr. Goins, the damage to company facilities report submitted by Columbia Gas personnel or entities on behalf of Columbia Gas indicate that the contractor bored through SL for AT&T failed to expose SL. SL stands for service line. Is that your understanding?
It is.
Okay. So that states for AT&T the actual damage report made with the commission, no, excuse me. The dig ticket, do you have the dig ticket in front of you?
I do.
The dig ticket on work type, do you see that installing conduit?
Yes.
Who was the work done for pursuant to this dig ticket?
According to this dig ticket, Blue Jay Communications.
Okay. Do you know at what depth natural gas lines are supposed to be maintained under the surface?
I believe service lines for Based on federal requirements, service lines are to be at least 12 inches deep.
Okay, and the depth indicated on the pictures, 1, 2, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, page 11 of it. There's a ruler, it looks like. I think this is one of these 36-inch rulers that maybe was discussed earlier at the hearing. If we can get Ms. Rhodes to bring that up, they're the number of pictures, 4 pictures in response to an email on page 11 of the DOI's Exhibit 1. All right, so we'll get to DOI Exhibit 1 here. Maybe it's, well, let me see. Maybe the next page, 2 pages later. I'm off. It's actually earlier than that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's page 9. Or actually page 7. Okay, keep going. There we go. The depth there, would you agree that the service line does appear to be in excess of 12 inches?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And do you have any indication from the evidence in the record that there was an escape of gas into the atmosphere by virtue of the damage?
I believe there was, because in the report from Columbia, it said that it severed the half-inch gas line, and so I would assume that gas escaped.
Okay. Do you have any redirect, counsel?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you have any additional evidence in this case?
No, sir.
All right.
I think it's no.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goins. And we'll take about a 3-minute break until 11:25, and then we'll continue the hearing.
Chairman, you're on, sir.
All right. We're back on the record. The next case we have is case number 2021-00267, LNN Utilities LLC. Pursuant to an order entered by the commission on July 21st, 2021. And based on the incident report that was submitted by the Division of Inspections, the commission found that prima facie evidence that LNN violated the Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act existed, specifically KRS 367-4911 sub 10, which states when excavation or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility. This case was called this morning. No one on behalf of LNN Utilities LLC appeared. Is the Division of Inspections prepared to move forward with this case?
We are.
As the party with the burden of proof, you may call your first witness.
DOI calls Eric Tout.
Mr. Tout, please take the stand. I'll just remind you that you're still under oath from earlier. Counsel, you may ask.
Mr. Tout, are you familiar with an incident of damage to an underground natural gas facility that took place on June 16th, 2020 at 1000 Samuel Street in Louisville, Kentucky?
Yes.
Did you investigate that incident?
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 42777? This appears to be a 6-page document. Mr. Tout, does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes.
This document was previously filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1.
So ordered.
Mr. Tout, would you please describe your investigation?
My investigation consists of a outline of the damage report submitted from the gas company, Louisville Gas and Electric, to the commission, my investigative findings, and any supporting documents or attachments of that.
Okay. And the gas operator reported that LNN Utilities LLC was responsible for the damage.
Yes.
Does the report from the operator indicate that the excavator was present when the operator investigated the incident?
The only indication that I have is there's a statement in the damage report provided to us. It states, I advise contractors to pothole exactly where they are going to cross buried facilities. And that the I would be referring to the person that made out the report.
Okay. Mrs. Rhodes, could you please go to page number 4 of the investigation report? Oh, you're already there. Mr. Tout, could you tell me what this document is?
That is the damage report that Louisville Gas and Electric submitted to the commission.
Okay. And does it contain an estimate for the cost of the damage?
Yes.
And do you know if that damage has been paid for?
I do not know.
Okay. Mrs. Rhodes, could you go to page 5 of the investigation report? Page 6, I'm sorry. Mr. Tout, what is this document?
That is the locate ticket for this incident.
Okay. And the ticket was valid at the time?
That's correct.
And are you aware if the markings were accurately done in relation to this locate ticket?
I believe there is attached photographs that would indicate that they were marked accurately.
Okay. And was it determined that the excavator was digging with mechanized equipment within the tolerance zone?
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Rhodes, could you open the supplemental investigation report? This appears to be an additional 7-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your supplemental investigation?
That's correct.
This document has previously been filed as well, Chairman, and I would move it to be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 2.
So ordered.
Will you describe the necessity for this document and the contents?
I'm sorry,
Will you describe the necessity of this document and the contents of the document?
the necessity? The necessity.
Why did you make a supplemental report?
Just to indicate that excavation occurred within the tolerance zone.
Okay. Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 5 of the supplemental investigation? Mr. Tout, could you explain this photograph for us?
This indicates where the markings were. If you can see the marked pylons and see the very first marked pylon, it is circled in white. I believe we've already discussed that in a previous case. Of course, the yellow mark is definitely evident in that first mark, where the first marked pylon is, or the one that's in the closest to us. The second shows the second mark, and where the second mark would be, and then it shows where the damage is, and all that is a direct line of where the damage is. And appears that there is a ruler laying there on the, just past or between the second marker pylon and the damaged pylon, which would indicate that the damage occurred within 18 inches because it appears that the ruler is laying there center of that mark.
Okay.
And where the damaged pylon is.
And so what did the green markings indicate?
The green markings indicate another utility. At the moment, I can't draw from it which utility it would be.
And the blue markings indicate an additional
The blue
utility?
markings indicate water.
Okay, and the yellow markings indicate the gas?
Gas, yes.
Okay, and you stated that the white circles are just an additional marking created by the operator to indicate?
Indicate where the yellow markings are.
Okay, and could you explain the concept of the ruler?
The concept of the ruler is it's 36 inches, 18, and the 18-inch mark is in the center of that, and it goes left to right 18 inches. To indicate or give you an idea of whether or not the damage occurred within the tolerance zone of 18 inches.
Okay, and this picture depicts that the damage did occur within the tolerance zone, correct?
Yes. And I think there is a better picture.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to pictures, page 6 of this document?
And in the photograph that I have, which is, let's see, I believe it's be the very last
Okay.
picture that I.
Ms. Rhodes, could you go to page 7 of this document?
Yes, there you can see on the right end of that ruler, the 18 inches. And again, the way those rulers are, it starts in the center and goes out in both directions. Of course, that ruler appears to be, it's been used quite a bit. The markings are faded off a bit, just like the one in the previous case we had.
Okay. And we know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
Yes, according to the gas, or the damage report submitted by Louisville Gas, it contained and it was released.
And did you speak to the excavator during your investigation?
Yes, I did.
And what did they state about the damage?
I spoke to Shane Melton, and on March the 10th, 2020, And he stated that LNN was guilty of operating mechanized equipment to the proximate location. And due to the records that I had on the contingency that the previous 2 or 3 incidences, that he would follow through with them and do as directed by the demand letter and attend the class, and then in the second letter, pay the $2,000 penalty. This would have been a third or subsequent offense, and that's why it's noted as that. And then, of course, if it were to go to a hearing, and let's say the first offense was deemed by the commissioners to be no fault, then this would adjust appropriately to whether it was the first offense or second offense.
Okay. And so, just to clarify, in conjunction with this incident, a demand letter was issued?
Yes.
Who was that issued to?
That, I don't have a copy of the demand letter here to actually tell you who I sent it to, but since I had contact with Mr. Melton, I would say that I sent it to Mr. Melton at the address on the report provided by Louisville Gas and Electric to the commission.
Okay. And then,
Because on some occasions, when you pull up the Secretary of State, the address might be different, and if it is, I usually add both those addresses.
so if the Secretary of State had a different address, you would have sent it to both addresses?
Both
correct?
addresses.
Okay. And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine was violated?
KRS 367-4911-10, when excavating or demolition is necessary within the approximate location of the underground facility, the excavator shall hand dig or use non-intrusive means to avoid damage to the underground facility.
Okay. No further questions.
Can you go to the photo, Ms. Rhodes? That's the close-up of the ruler. All right, Mr. Tout, I got a couple questions for you. Can you see okay?
Yes.
If you could zoom in just a little bit, Ms. Rhodes. Maybe 175, if it'll let you. Great. All right. So, Mr. Trout, what's the metal T there with the cable connected to it?
That would be just, let's see. I think I know what it is.
Is it a grounding mechanism? Is that what you?
That is the mechanism they use to, and I'm not for sure if it's a grounding mechanism, but they do stick it in the ground, and then they hook their detection machine, I can't remember exactly what it's called, to the tracer wire at another end, and that's how they get a complete signal for the to do the trace.
Okay. And then the.
And again, I'm assuming that's what that is, because that's what it looks like to me.
The yellow in the dirt. What is that? Do you see that? The yellow in the dirt?
Right below the damage pylon?
That's right.
That would be the gas.
Is that the
gas
service
line.
Is that the service line?
Yes.
Okay. What is the pylon there?
That's the damage pylon.
Okay. And so that's actually what was damaged, was the pylon, not the individual service line? Is that what the report indicates?
No, the damage pylon is to mark where the damage is.
No, underneath the damage pylon. Do you see it standing on something?
Oh, yes. That would be the, I'm not for sure if, that would be the, where they would cut the gas off. That's the, I can't remember the terminology, box. They call it a box.
Okay. The shut-off box?
Yes, that's it, shut-off box.
Okay. And so is it the service line or the shut-off box that was damaged?
To specifically say whether it was either or,
Do you know what the allegation was? I guess my question is this: is it your understanding that the damage occurred while it was being bored down?
Okay, the report provided says a half-inch plastic customer service. So in there is a half-inch plastic service, and that shut-off box is metal, they would have specified that the shut-off box was damaged.
What I'm trying to be clear of
Okay.
is that the damaged pylon is on top of a different facility than what necessarily may have been damaged. It seems to be the service that would have run through that meter
Right.
shut-off, right? Or
And they
that's the
said,
service shut-off.
yeah, they set the damaged pylon as closely as they can to that, and, that plastic pipe comes out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the plastic pipe was damaged in or around that, close to that shut-off valve.
Okay, so we've got the service line, we can see it in the back, we can kind of see the yellow service line in front of the shut-off as well, correct? Faintly at the bottom, in between the ruler and the shut-off?
Faintly, yes.
Okay, now my last question is, do you see any indication of yellow paint? I think it may be easier to see it up here. If Mr. Rhodes can scroll up just a little bit and maybe zoom into 200. Do you see any indication of paint around the damaged pylon?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tout. Is there any redirect, Mr. Tout?
No.
Okay. All right, and any additional evidence from the Division of Inspections?
No, we would submit.
Okay. Before you submit, counsel, is there a nuance with the proposed penalty by the Division of Inspections in this case?
On this particular case?
Yes.
I don't believe
couldn't
so.
tell from your questioning of Mr. Tout regarding the,
This would be their second violation, so it would be a $2,000 penalty.
all right.
Or, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. It's a third or subsequent, so it is a $4,000 penalty. L&N Utilities currently has a case pending with the commission in Frankfurt Circuit Court. So this is their third.
This is their third, they've been
Yes.
found by the commission to have violated the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act twice already? Or once, and then plus the
Once
one we
and
just
then
heard?
plus the second case that we've heard today.
Okay. All right. And the final case today, thought we may get done by 12, here we are, is case number 2021-00253, Antonio Lozano. We called this case earlier, Mr. Lozano was not present. We've called this case in the past, I believe back in August, Mr. Lozano was present and indicated, my memory of it, was that he intended on conducting the training. We gave him the information to contact the Public Service Commission. I think we contacted Mr. Lozano, and he did not conduct the training. Is that correct, counsel?
That is correct. He has paid the reduced penalty amount, but he has not completed the training.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start off. Mr. Lozano was alleged to have violated the Underground Damage Prevention Act. The commission found that prima facie evidence based off the Division of Inspections incident report existed that Mr. Lozano violated the Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act. Specifically, KRS 367-4911, sub 1, sub A, each excavator or person responsible for an excavation, planning excavation, or demolition work shall, not less than 2 full days, nor more than 10 full working days prior to commencing work, notify each affected operator of the operator's intended work and work schedule. Contacting the applicable protection notification centers shall satisfy this requirement. As indicated, we called this case earlier. Mr. Lozano was not present nor any counsel on behalf of Mr. Lozano. Is the Division of Inspections Is the Division of Inspections prepared to proceed?
We are.
Okay. As the party with the burden of proof, you may call your first witness.
DOI calls Eric Tout.
Okay, Mr. Tout, I'll remind you, you're still under oath for previous affirmation, and counsel you may ask.
Mr. Tout, are you familiar with an incident of damage to an underground natural gas facility that took place on April 21st, 2020 at 4173 Willow Lane, Lexington, Kentucky?
Yes,
Did you investigate this incident?
yes.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please bring up the investigation report for incident number 32574? This appears to be a 6-page document. Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of your investigation of this incident?
Yes.
Okay. Will you describe its contents?
It is an outline of the damage report provided by Columbia Gas to the commission with supporting documentation.
Okay. This document has previously been filed, and Chairman, I would move that it be marked and entered as DOI Exhibit 1.
So ordered.
Mr. Tout, could you describe your investigation for us?
The Columbia Gas reported to the commission that the excavator homeowner damaged a 1-inch gas service with a backhoe and failed to call the Kentucky Contact Center or 811. Spoke to the homeowner, Lozano Antonio, and he stated that he held no valid LT on the incident date. He was receptive to attending the damage prevention class and paying the reduced penalty. And then on 1/6/2021, I also contacted 811, asked them to do a review of their records to determine whether a dig ticket did exist, and they were unable to provide one.
You stated that Mr. Lozano was the homeowner. Was he the owner of the property located at 4173 Willow Lane, Lexington?
Since the damage report indicated that, I did not do any further research to determine whether he was a homeowner or tenant. I just went on face value of the damage report that, yes, he was the homeowner.
Okay. But you treated this case as if he was a homeowner?
Yes. And just for the record, if he was a tenant, I would treat him as a homeowner.
Okay.
The penalty would be as a homeowner.
Did the report indicate from Columbia Gas that Mr. Lozano was present when they did their investigation?
It states in there that Columbia Gas set up a safety tailgate with Mr. Lozano following the damage to educate him about 811.
Okay. And then you did state that Mr. Lozano did not hold a valid dig ticket at the time of the incident?
That's correct.
Do we know if the facility contained natural gas at the time of the damage?
The damage report that was provided from Columbia Gas, the question that's asked to them, was gas or hazardous liquid contained in the underground facility is not checked. But the next question is, was gas or hazardous liquid released into the atmosphere? Was checked. So yes, to me, that tells me that it was contained and it was released. It contained and released.
Ms. Rhodes, could you please go to page 6 of the investigation report? Mr. Tout, what is this document?
That is a locate ticket.
Was this locate ticket valid on the date of the incident in question?
No, it was not. It was obtained 5 days after the incident.
And what provision of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act did you determine Mr. Lozano violated?
KRS 367-4911, 1A. Each excavator or person responsible for an excavation, planning, excavation, or demolition work shall not less than 2 full working days, no more than 10 full working days prior to commencing work, notify each affected operator of the excavator's intended work and work schedule. Contacting the applicable protection notification centers shall satisfy this requirement.
And in conjunction with this incident, was a demand letter issued by the Department of Investigations, Division of Investigations?
Yes,
Was that issued to Mr. Lozano?
yes,
Was he offered the training course?
yes,
Was he offered to pay a reduced penalty?
yes.
Has he done either of those things?
Appears that the penalty payment was received March the 19th, 2021, and there's been no indication that, oh no, he was set up for class June the 1st, 2020, and we have no attendance.
So he did not complete the training course?
Yeah, the training course has not been completed, yes.
And from the Public Service Commission records, do you know if Mr. Lozano has any prior violations of the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
Not to my knowledge.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Mr. Stout, where in the record does it indicate that he has paid any portion of a penalty?
It is, my record is pulled from IRS,
Okay,
and I'm not sure if you have it.
I don't.
Okay.
So, counsel, will you please, as a notice of filing, provide that IRS, that this is Mr. Lozano's, that Mr. Lozano has paid some portion, some penalty?
Yes.
So I want to understand, the demand letter sought, what, a $100 penalty if they performed, Mr. Lozano attended the training, is that correct?
That's correct. That's the reduced penalty for homeowners.
For homeowners. And that's what I want to make sure of. Your recommendation or your investigation is that this is Mr. Lozano's, the allegation is that Mr. Lozano was the excavator and that this is 4173 Willow is Mr. Lozano's address, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions. Counsel, is the recommendation in this case a $250 fine?
One more time, I'm sorry.
Is the recommendation by the Division of Inspections a $100 fine and an order that he violated the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act, or a $250 fine and an order that he violated the Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act?
A $100 penalty, and we would ask that he complete the training course.
All right. So we'll have something in the record soon of what Mr. Lozano has paid to date, is that correct?
Yes, he has paid the complete $100 penalty.
Okay. All right. And is there anything else from the Division of Inspections on this?
No, Chairman, we would submit.
So I'll just ask if you will file, council will file, do a notice of filing with the amount, with evidence of the amount that Mr. Lozano has paid today. Okay. Are there any other cases, are there any other cases that we've not taken up today but have called council?
No, I believe that's all of the cases.
Okay. I would ask, there were a number of cases today that we passed over by request of the parties. 2021-00336, Jay Witt, properties 2021-00257, Maria Rodriguez, and were those the only two? Thought there was one more. Those were, as well as 2021-00355 A&R. Sorry. Given that those were passed over at the request of the parties, I would just ask if Council for Division of Inspections would file, as a notice of filing, a proposed order for the Commission's consideration that passes over those, or continues those for further action to give the individuals, or the entities, individuals or entities, the opportunity to participate in the training provided in November.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Council, is there anything else that we need to take under your advisement today?
I don't believe so. That's all we have.
All right, thank you very much. Hearing nothing else, we will adjourn.